Hey people, it's Nias talking. Now I want to cover this new story because it's not really being featured a lot in the mainstream media. Now this is from the Daily Mail. Ebola outbreak that has killed 75 in 4 weeks in the Democratic Republic of Congo has the potential to be the worst ever seen. International Rescue Committee fears deaths will outstrip the 2014 pandemic. More than 11,000 people were killed by the virus when it decimated West Africa. Aid workers are battling around the clock to contain the outbreak in North Kivu. Figures show 111 patients have been struck down so far, of which 75 have died. The Ebola outbreak has killed 75 people in the Democratic Republic of Congo since it began 4 weeks. Same thing. Let's go on a bit. Okay, virologists have repeatedly warned the situation is too hard to control. It's hard to control because cases are in a conflict zone roamed by armed militias. Yesterday, Tedros Adhanom, chief of the World Health Organization, ramped up the warning over its potential rapid spread. Several areas close to the outbreak's epicenter in the town of Mangina, Sean James would love that, are off limits to health workers for security reasons. Dr. Tedros Adhanom told news agency Reuters, if one case is hidden in the red zone or an accessible area, it's dangerous. One can spark a fire, just one case. He admitted there had been a steady decline in new cases, but warned it was too soon to stop to say the outbreak is stabilizing. No new cases have been diagnosed since Sunday, and 2 infected patients have recovered after being given an experimental drug. I want to stop you right there. Experimental drug. I always get really scared, not scared, worried when they start saying experimental drugs. They love using these new drugs on Africans. To them, it's just a big field test, like, a gigantic whole of Africa, as far as they're concerned, is experiment. This one could be more dangerous than the disease. We've never actually tested it on a human or even know what it does, but hey, whatever. Nobody cares if you clock out, so let's try it. If you die, you die. If you live, great. And this is the really dangerous thing. I did a video just yesterday, about the Tuskeqee experiments, where they administered these cures, which were really the disease, just to test what would happen. I am not trusting any of these things. I would honestly say that those witch doctors who say that they can cure it with herbs, I'd say that they're better off with those than any of these cures. Because whatever they're giving to these Africans, I don't trust it. Don't ever forget Tuskeqee. Ebola virus disease caused by the virus of its namesake kills around 50% of the people it strikes, but there is no proven treatment available. Again, but what about that English nurse? Was he a male nurse? Who got the disease, and when they took him back to England, he just recovered. Why is that possible? It's funny how when it caught someone who wasn't African, they just mysteriously got better. Funny how that works. Oh well. Congolese health workers take that's a subtitle. World Health Organization figures released earlier this week showed that there had been 111 suspected cases of Ebola in the DRC region, which 83 had been confirmed. Only 47 cases have been confirmed so far, but the remaining fatalities are being investigated in a laboratory to see if Ebola was to blame. A total of 15 health workers have been struck down by the outbreak in North Kivu province, of which 14 are confirmed and 1 has died. Most of the confirmed cases have been recorded in Mabalako, 18 miles west of the trading hub of Beni, where 230,000 people live. But it has since spread to Oicha, an area almost entirely surrounded by militants. Michelle Gale of the IRCs, with more than 50 armed groups operating in North Kivu, many areas are inaccessible to aid groups due to insecurity. Beni itself was the deadliest territory of the Kivus this month, with 33 violent deaths of civilians recorded. If someone contracts Ebola in one of these areas, there's almost no way of knowing, and therefore no way of cutting the chain of transmission. The two new cases in Oicha is extremely distressing because the area is almost entirely surrounded by armed militants. In a desperate attempt to stem cases, Dr. Adhanom called for an end to the brutal fighting in the DRC. The unsafe burial of a 65-year-old Ebola sufferer triggered the latest outbreak. Okay, let me just see if... Wow. Genetic analysis has confirmed the virus strain in this latest outbreak is the Zero strain, the same as the earlier one this summer. Okay, let's go down a bit. Vaccinations began 2 weeks ago. Always with the vaccinations. Who knows what's in them? They're like a Christmas cracker. You never know what you're going to get. Alright, let's go down. It traveled 80 miles north to Bandaka, a port city in the river Congo. an essential waterway of around 1.2 million inhabitants. There was a concern it would spread to Kinshasa, 364 miles south, which has an international airport and 12 million people resident. Again, why can't they ever write these things properly? 12 million people who are residents, or 12 million people who are 12 million residents? Oh, whatever. Okay, let's keep going round. Officials hailed the use of experimental vaccine called RVSV Zebov in stemming the Ebola outbreak in northwest DRC in July. Bafe Njoloko, who oversees the health ministry's Ebola response, said officials are working to identify those who may be infected. He revealed the vaccination campaign will focus on healthcare workers and those who have come into contact with confirmed cases. Okay, I'm not going to read the entire article. Actually, maybe I can. How long does this go? Yeah, I might be able to finish this. Right. Ebola. What is Ebola and how deadly is it? Ebola, a hemorrhagic fever, killed at least 11,000 people across the world after it decimated West Africa and spread rapidly over the space of 2 years. The pandemic was officially declared over back in January 2016 when Liberia was announced to be Ebola-free by the World Health Organization. The country, rocked by back-to-back civil wars that ended in 2003, was hit hardest by the fever, with 40% of the deaths having occurred there. Sierra Leone reported the highest number of Ebola cases, nearly all of those infected having been residents of the nation. Where did it begin? An analysis published in the New England Journal of Medicine found the outbreak began in Guinea, which neighbors Liberia and Sierra Leone. A team of international researchers were able to trace the pandemic to a 2-year-old boy in Miliandu, about 400 miles from the capital Conakry. Emily Oano, known more commonly as Patient Zero, may have contracted the deadly virus by playing with the bats in a hollow tree, a study suggested. Figures show nearly 29,000 people were infected from Ebola, meaning the virus killed around 40% of those it struck. Cases and deaths were also reported in Nigeria, Mali, and the US, but on a much smaller scale, with 15 fatalities between the three nations. Health officials in Guinea reported a mysterious bug in the southeastern region of the country before the WHO confirmed it was Ebola. Ebola was first identified by scientists in 1976, but the most recent outbreaks dwarf all the other ones recorded in history, figures show. And this is another thing. This is basically 42 years old. How does this disease just suddenly begin killing people in large numbers? And especially if it's been known for such a long time, how did they not find a cure for it by now? Whatever. Scientists believe Ebola is most often passed to humans by fruit bats, but antelope, porcupines, gorillas, and chimpanzees could also be to blame. It can be transmitted between humans through blood, secretions, and other bodily fluids of people on surfaces that have been infected. If you ever come across someone who has been infected by this, even though it's very, very unlikely, just don't touch anything that they've touched, and get them quarantined, I suppose. Okay. The White House organization warns there is no proven treatment for... The White House. The World Health Organization warns there is no proven treatment for Ebola, but dozens of drugs and jabs are being tested in case of a similarly devastating outbreak. Hope exists, though, after an experimental vaccine... Oh, we already heard that. Alright. So, I want to just finish off on this. Congo is one of the most mineral-rich countries in the world. The phone that I'm recording this on has parts made in Congo, coltan, which is a very important component that I think it's only found there. And there's all sorts of other mineral wealth. And there's no secret, I'm sure you can guess why an Ebola outbreak has just happened in Congo. I believe that some people want Congo to be depopulated so its resources can be seized. Now, I'm going to finish off by a quote from Sweet from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, to paraphrase it. Come on, man. There ain't nothing here for us. Let's go home. This is home, fool. This is where humanity began and where it's probably going to end. So get them fuckers out of our house. Anyway, if you like this video, please support this channel with my PayPal in the description. And I'll leave the link to the news story in the description as well. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace, family.